Kickoff countdown getting ever so much closer here, counting down the days until opening kick of the 2025 WPIL and D10 football season. Here in the Lawrence County SportsNet, our get-togethers here is always brought to you by an Ohio Bottled Water. Give them a call, and don't forget about their custom label options there and with the Penn Ohio Bottled Water Company. I'm James Dotson, and bringing back Eric Thomas here for a fun get-together as we take a look. Last time we talked with Eric, we looked at some of the biggest games from last season. We're talking about the big storylines going into this year. We've been doing top five countdowns. We each have our own top five countdowns. So we're going to get right into it with some of the big storylines coming into this year. Eric, we'll start with your number five. The youthful Union team. They're playing up in Class 2A, a lot of young bodies. Keep in mind, this is a team that their junior high won the county championship last year. Freshmen may be getting involved immediately, but you're just interested to see, more than anything, I think, if Union plays a full four quarters, they're going to be in a lot of games this year.
Yeah, I think they will. And you know, the other thing, I need to see some depth out of this team. I know, again, it's a small school, it's a small roster. The depth is kind of what it is, but who's going to be the starting quarterback? We think we know who's going to be able to be the top running back. Do they have any skill talent to throw the ball to? Their line has to reshuffle a little bit. For me, it's just more about depth. I mean, I know that they have the coaching staff to put them in the right position to win games, but they need to go the full 48 minutes this year. They didn't do that enough last year until late in the season. Yeah, they made a little bit of a push at the end of the season there for a potential late playoff berth, but just a little too late there at the end. I need to see like what pieces fill in here. I know it might be a little bit till we get to see like what this team is, but if they got 500, they're going to be in the mix, and that's what they need to do. And do they have the pieces that can make that happen? We'll find out. This is going to be, we already know he's a great coach. Kim Nabaldi is a great coach. We know that. This is going to be, if they win, if they go 500, if they go 6-4 or whatever the record might be, they get above 500. It's going to be his best coaching job. Even better, I think, than when he took the team to the state final, because he's not bringing a ton of talent back here. There's not a lot of carryover from year one to year two like last year to this year, but he's going to have his X's and O's ready. I trust that he will, but at the same time, we still need to see these guys like fill those roles as the season goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Nee, he's going to have a game plan set up that is going to go towards the talent that his players have, and he's going to use that to his advantage. Will we see 7 lineman formations again like last year? Maybe, maybe not. Again, I think a lot depends on how quickly some of those freshmen can get up to speed to fill in some of those positions that were lost. My number five is talking about the two-headed monster of the Wilmington Greyhounds, and really at times a three-headed monster. I think that there's a great possibility that you see both Jamie Miller and Chase Mitchell-Tree eclipse 1,000 yards running the football here this year. They nearly did it last year when you got the playoff games involved as well. But I also kind of look back and remember that Mitchell-Tree missed a couple of games with an injury in the middle of the season and still eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark. But talking to Coach Fillion, he can't give any better compliments for these two guys, especially. Miller was a captain as a junior just last year, just such a great leader first and foremost, he said. And this team brings everybody back. Everybody. They had 2 seniors on the roster, and by the end of the year, actually, neither one was starting. One was coming in as a rotation, depending on the defensive positioning. So everybody's back for the Hounds in their title defense. By the way, I got to mention this about Mitchell-Tree playing in the Colt World Series right now, and he finished second out of everybody at the Colt World Series in the whatever it was. It was I don't know if it was a 60-yard dash or a double dash running from home to second. I forget exactly what it was, but he finished second out of all the players in that tournament. So he's got the speed to go along with that power as well. So watching out for those two as well as Michael Mastretta and seeing what they do in that Hounds backfield is my number 5 storyline for this year. Number 4, Eric, is one that we hate to talk about, but we do need to talk about it. Is just wanting a quote unquote normal season, a lot of turmoil from a year ago, Eric. And this is a team again. You lose Sam Patton, who was, he was such a great quarterback last year that kind of flew under the radar because of some of the other great performances in our area. I think this is a Cats team again with a small roster that could make it back to the playoffs, right?
Yeah, it could. They just had so much against them last year, and it was really out of
Yeah.
their control. And it was unfortunate what happened to that team last year with the accident off the field. But you know, they if they can keep it between the lines and concentrate on football and just kind of have some normalcy for 10 weeks or whatever, yeah, they got potential to make a playoff run and I think surprise some people. But the hope is, and the coaching staff did a great job last year keeping those kids level and understanding like, what they still had to do on Friday nights and who they were playing for and what they were playing for. But they need, and it's again out of their control, but they need to have a normal 10 weeks school
Mhm.
practice game and hopefully no distractions outside of that.
It was unfortunate. I mean, even beyond that, too, you had a game against Rochester there at Shenango where the Rochester kid suffered a serious injury and collapsed on the sideline. They just could not catch a break even when it wasn't directly affecting their team. So, yes, a normal season, hopefully for the Cats. And I think Farilla and DeSalvo and company could be definitely a team to keep an eye on. But my goodness, again, another ridiculously tough non-conference section this year for Shenango. More about them in our previews coming up. My number 4 storyline, can Laurel keep up the momentum they got in the second half of the year last year? And again, especially getting back one of their top options in the ground game in Nathan Hill, who missed all last year. I think you're going to see a much more balanced Laurel team here, Eric. And talk real quick about the Spartans from last year versus what we expect to see this year. Another team that brings a lot of guys back. Do you think this is a Laurel team that's going to be right up there fighting for the conference championship yet again?
I do. Yeah, I really do. If they can run the ball like they did last year, if their offensive line's as physical as last year, if their defense can set a tone early in games like it did last year, and if they can keep Lucas Santini clean and comfortable in that pocket, because he can sling it. He got hot, much hotter as the season went on. But if all those things can happen for him again, it's going to start with the running game. But I think they have a shot. I think they're definitely going to be a challenger for Neshannock, and that game comes up late again. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But carry that momentum over. Santini continues to fire all the pieces there. They add Nathan Hill in. Hopefully, he's 100% healthy. Might take him a game to get football ready again, so to speak. But yeah, I like all the pieces that they have. Both sides of the football, offense and defensive line. And I love Santini. I love his arm and the way he can sling a football. They just got to keep it between the lines and no early mistakes. Get some offense early in the season like they didn't last year in that game against Elwood City, but keep everything just like kind of in front of them and don't put too much pressure on one or two parts. They've got a lot of parts there that make up the sum, and they got to rely on all of them all season.
Eric's number 3 storyline coming into this year. Talk about the other top quarterback. You just talked about the top returning passer, Lucas Santini. We're talking about the Mohawk offense. We know what to expect. It's the storyline of the Mohawk defense because that's what can lead them to some pretty promising things when we look at what their schedule and what all of Class 2A is, Eric.
No Jackson Chapman and no Sam List defensively. And that's a problem. They still have fat on the back end of it, but I just wonder like where this pass rush is going to come from this year. Who can disrupt the pocket? What linebackers are going to step up? There's a lot of holes that they have to fill on that side. I think this team can be really good. I honestly think that they can be really good. I'm not. It's not a matter of like buying the hype that you read early in the year. I think they have a lot of pieces, but they have to find a couple of heavy hitters on defense early, specifically at that defensive end spot for Chapman. And they got to go and get a linebacker developed because that's been the strong part of their defense. That end position and those linebackers have been great the last 2 years, borderline great the last 2 years. They're going to need to fill those roles. If they can do that, they're not going to have to win games 42-35 or try to score. Look at what they've done. It's amazing to me that the games that they have lost to Neshannock the last couple of years have been ridiculously high scoring. The games they've won, they've totally shut that Neshannock team down. That's how good their defense has been in bigger spots. You remember the end of the season,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years ago, that 13-7 game. And then you remember a couple of years before that, I think it was 15-7. They limited them to one touchdown.
That's
So
right.
they have to play like that. I need to see that defense across the board. If they can fire like that and find the players to make them that good again, this team's got potential to make a nice run.
Yeah, don't forget Dan Monaco in the trenches. He's a returning all conference player, and I think you're going to be hearing Joey Nail on defense a little bit more, and Cass Stratton playing both ways. I think is going to be a big key at that linebacker position. But I think in the end, it's going to be a name that we're not talking about. Who's that player we're not talking about? That would make the difference in terms of, excuse me, in terms of making it that run that the Mohawk team definitely could go on. My number three, 1,000. It's only happened once in the regular season in Lawrence County history. No, I'm not talking about getting two 1,000-yard rushers like I talked about, very possible with Wilmington. I'm talking about both Mohawk and Shannick quarterbacks. Legit, I think have solid chances of being the second and or third players all time in Lawrence County to get 1,000 passing and 1,000 rushing yards in a season. I'm talking about Bobby Fadden, who last year was over 1,600 yards passing and also ran on the year. Did Fadden for a lot of yards? I believe 600 was 600, 700 was his final number on the ground. 618 officially. And I think Gino Mazzacco has a great chance as well. Very similar numbers there. About 1,300 passing, about 700 rushing. I think both those guys, if they have the senior seasons that we expect them to have, it would not surprise me, Eric, to see one of or maybe both of them hitting that elusive regular season 1,000 club.
And both have the ability to do it if you call plays for them. But let's talk about how when the pocket breaks down
Oh,
and they
right.
got to scramble outside of that and pick up the extra yards. Yeah, I think that there's legit potential for them to both go 1,000. I think Mazzacco might have more of an edge on that maybe than Fadden will. I think Fadden they'll find some pieces to run the football there, but I you're never out of a game with either guy. But I think Gino's got a legit shot. He is again, the jumps that he made from sophomore to junior year, I mean, everything was better for him junior year. Just made better decisions through a better ball, better field vision, knew when to run, knew when to, put the brakes on things and get everybody else involved. Such a smart player, just looks like a natural quarterback. But I I think if both get there, it's going to be because of what happens when the pocket breaks down and their ability to scramble out of trouble and kind of get bonus yards as opposed to just like, we're going to design the run for this guy. We're going to design a quarterback draw, whatever the case. They both have the ability to scramble. And if they do, their field vision, their athleticism, look out because you're going to have a lot of trouble stopping them.
Eric's number two storyline for this year. Can Newcastle, again, a young Newcastle team, make it to the playoffs in that ridiculously tough Parkway Conference? I think the door is open for them to get it into one of those playoff spots there in the Parkway. It's going to be a young team, a lot of new faces, but also some familiar ones as well. Can Coach Mazzacco do it, Eric? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, he seems if somebody is going to do it, he seems like the guy that will. But I wonder like how much the young pieces that they're going to have to rely on this year. How are they going to be able to bring their quarterback play along? How are they going to be able to get Kai Cox involved? Assuming he becomes their number one threat to throw the football to. They did lose a lot from last year, and they kind of tailed off at the end last year, and that was pretty disappointing. What happened there? We were there when they played Montour and thought that might be a game that they'd be able to make a statement, and they weren't able to get that done. It's a little bit weaker division of a division this year too. I mean, Aliquippa is going to be really good, but at least the way you look at it right now on paper, it's a little bit weaker of a division, and it's a lot of teams that are jockeying to kind of take that next step. Like West Allegheny was 500 last year. Montour was really good, but they lose everybody. Blackhawk under 500, Ambridge under 500, Quippa 3 losses. When's the last time they lost 3 games? They want to bounce back from that,
Yeah.
but it's really kind of that battle between the Ambridges and the Blackhawks and the Newcastles and the West A's, like who really wants to step up and kind of take that next step. And from what we hear, I mean, Newcastle's got some potential to have some big time players that we didn't see on the field last year, and if they pan out, they might be that team.
Yeah, I think the word growing pains is probably going to come up. I mean, it always is when you have any new starting quarterback, but especially if it ends up being a freshman behind center, if not to start the year, maybe midway through the year, or however, maybe they mix looks between, freshman, sophomore, junior, lots that are going for that quarterback starting position. But growing pains are probably going to happen, but remember, they have 5 preseason games. I say preseason, 5 non-conference games before it really matters, before you start playing against, the Aliquippas and the Montours, and those are going to be the two big ones. But you got to take care of, the three that you mentioned who are 500 or sub 500 teams from a year ago. But we'll see the Canes right away. They're one of our week 0 games as they host Penn Hills. That'll be telling a lot, I think, for what that team is going to be, even if there are some growing pains there in that game. My number 2 storyline, it goes back to one of the big storylines we had from last year. I mean, Elwood City, a historic run, best season in 70 some years, record wise, making it to the district semifinals before falling in that game to a pretty strong South Park team. It's all about the reload, though, because there were 18 seniors on that Elwood City squad. Coach Dan Bradley, obviously, he knows what he's doing, but there's going to be a lot of holes to have to fill. Let's talk about some of the guys who are coming back, though. You do return your top 2 receivers in Daylon Curry and Dom Hogue. Who's going to be throwing the ball to it? Is it going to be younger brother Tyler Smiley? Are they going to go another direction behind center? Who's going to be the main the main workhorse? The top 3 rushers from last year, all gone. Julian Frisk, 8 carries for 64 yards, is the team's top returning rusher from a year ago. So how does Elwood City reload? This might be a hot take, Eric, but Elwood City making the playoffs this year after losing everybody might be a more impressive feat for Coach Bradley than going undefeated and winning the conference title a year ago.
That is a pretty hot take. I like that. I like that though. Hey, look, they're going to have to figure out what's what. They might have to rely on throwing the football more than running it until it kind of comes around for them this season. Dan Bradley wouldn't be in the position he's in if he wouldn't want to rebuild this thing. He's going to have to rebuild his basketball team too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he had to kind of do that last year, and they were really good on the basketball court too. Even without Joe Roth, who graduated. I mean, they still were a playoff team last year, and that's because they've got one of the best coaches. So you trust him. He's up for the challenge. I think if he didn't want to see this thing get built back up to the level that it was last year, I think he would have stepped aside after the season was over. Instead, he comes back, he accepts the challenge, and he's ready to go. So I think that they're looking forward to building this thing back up. They've done it before. They'll have to do it again, but it might be a little bit longer of a process this time. But Dan Bradley's already done it, so why can't he start from scratch and do it all over again?
Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind, again, they graduated their program's all-time rushing yards leader, rushing touchdowns leader, passing touchdowns leader, completions leader. That alone is going to be tough, not to mention the 16 other seniors that have graduated and moved on from Elwood City. So Eric's top 5. Number 5, the Youthful Union team. Number 4, the Cats returning back to a normal year. Number 3, Mohawk, the defense stepping up. The Young Canes squad at number 2. Number 1, Old Nesh. A little redemption potentially on the card. Is it a what do they call it? The revenge tour. Is that what this Lancers team has got to be looking at here for 2025?
It is. I'm going to put this as plainly as I can, and it's not a knock on them because they've been phenomenal. It's time to take the next step. It's time to get into the second round of the WPIL playoffs. It's time to get to the semifinals. It's time to make a run. And this is the team that does it. This is the team that can do it. They're older, they're wiser, they've got a ton of experience, especially at some key parts. Offensive line, yeah, I know Tony Parada's gone on both sides of the ball, but I think they're going to be okay up front. Gino Mazzocco is a 4-year starter. He's been exceptional his first 3 years. I think he's going to be a star this year. They've got their best running back. They've got a couple of guys that can catch the ball too. They've got some young talent that we saw last year, guys like Justin Edworthy, who started to play a little bit bigger of a role as the season went on. It's time. I mean, plain and simple, it is time to get out of the first round, defend that home turf if you get a home playoff game, go on the road, win a neutral site game, win another neutral site game, and get to Acrisure Stadium. The time is now.
Yeah, they got the pieces. The O line is probably the biggest question because you lose Tony Parada, but you still have some big names who are going to be back and doing some big things for them. I mean, Joey Veronese is going to be a 3-year starter. Dante Cancielo been in the trenches for many years. Those two, especially, I think, are going to be the anchors in the trenches. And yeah, you lose Dom Cubelis as your top receiving threat. But again, you got a good number of guys who are going to be making their way back. Brady Frasso is a guy I'm going to be interested and excited to see what he does. You know, you mentioned Aiken as a receiving threat, Ashton Allison out of the tight end spot, also running the football. So they got a lot of weapons to work around on both sides of the ball. And I want to give a shout out again to Sammy Flora. I know we mentioned him earlier in one of the podcasts, but Sammy Flora came up big late as a freshman defensively. I expect to see more from him potentially as well down the stretch. So I like that. Nishanik can, in Coach Bonjavingo's second year, make a not only a conference title run, but a championship potential run, maybe a trip to Acrisure on the docket. My top 5 storylines: number 5, the Wilmington two-headed monster; number 4, the momentum for Laurel. Can they keep it up from last year? Number 3, the couple of 1,000 yard possibility quarterbacks this year. Number 2, the reload for Elwood City. Can they make it into the playoffs? Number 1 for me is that title defense for the Wilmington Greyhounds. The District 10 champions from a year ago, and they returned all 22 starters on both sides of the football. All 11 starters are back. The three-headed monster running the football, Freddie Zettner, who had 8 of his 12 catches go for touchdowns. He was an all-state player for his work throughout the postseason. I think their toughest challenge, again, is going to be Greenville, who they face in week 1. Sorry, apologies to our D10 folk there, Mr. Greenberg. You can mute that and change that later. I think that week 1 game is going to be really the only obstacle in their way. Yes, they have Farrell in their region. Farrell is Class 2A, so that doesn't matter in terms of the title defense. I would be shocked if you don't end up seeing Wilmington against Port Allegheny in a rematch of that state quarterfinal game from a year ago. And I think while Port A still has their big record-breaking running back, is it something Bliss? I forget his name now. Apologies, but he averaged 30 points per game on the football field last year. They still have him, but they lost a lot of other pieces. I think this is a Wilmington team that can make it to that point, can put up a fight, and probably beat that Port Allegheny team. This is a Hounds team I expect to see if they stay healthy and do what they are supposed to do. Would not surprise me if we're seeing them in the state semifinals and maybe even making it all the way to Cumberland Valley there, Eric.
They have a shot. They can run the football. They've got a quarterback that understands what he's supposed to do with this offense, and they can run like nobody's business. They got everybody back. They've got one of the best threats offensively in Mitchell Tree back. Wesley Vasquez, they could tap into him a little bit more potentially, but they've got every piece they need, including running the football. And when that weather gets nasty and cold and you want to shorten a game up and you want to impose your will, you run the football. They got 3 ways to do it. I like the makeup of their team. I think they do make a run to Cumberland Valley.
And throwing that Hounds hammer defense, can't talk about them enough, starting with Maverick Whiting coming back. 9 sacks, led the county with 9 sacks from a year ago. It's whether the secondary can make the steps up. I think that's going to be the big key. Can the secondary make the big plays when they need to defensively? Because I think the offense is going to be fine. If the defense makes some big plays, especially in the back half, that's what's going to be their key to a title defense and maybe then some. Well, there's some of the top storylines we're going to be looking at in just over a week before we are heading back to the gridiron. Big thanks again. All these preview shows brought to you by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Give them a call. Don't forget about their custom label options. And, of course, get water coolers and 5-gallon jugs delivered straight to your home or office, and get cool water or hot water at the touch of a button. Our kickoff countdown here on the Lawrence County SportsNet. Eric Thomas, thanks again. Hey, we will see you soon enough for Football Fridays.
Can't wait. Almost here.
Can't get here quickly enough. For Eric Thomas, I'm James Dotson. Stay tuned. More great stuff, including our preseason camp tour. Our recap of that coming up soon as well. All here on the Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAT.